We're looking at this from the business side of how can we use AI models and agentic AI to better approach our finance goals, to better approach our accounting goals, our legal goals, our customer service and CX goals. Has that changed what customers are asking for in the market and the way that they're approaching companies like XTIUM?
You know, I view it as we're doing the same things we've always done, right? It's just the method that we can do it is different, right? We used to do it through putting a bunch of no form fields on a web page and, putting that finance data there and then having somebody kind of evaluate what that looks like. Whereas we still need that, but you can add more context to that page that you couldn't do before through natural language by having something else go off and query some of that data to give you some insight, and then you can further ask more questions about it. So you still have the same problem, right? It's still the same problem to solve. It's just a little bit of a different way to actually solve it. So rather than doing it how we've done traditionally, you can use a lot of these tools through natural language to get that same outcome and significantly faster.
No, that's a great answer, Dan. That's exactly it. You have to use it as a tool, right? We 25 years ago, we started, building all of these, data pools and data lakes and, all of this multidimensional analysis. And then it stopped because it was so much data. But now we actually have a tool. If you know how to ask it the right questions, you can ask AI to do the hard number crunching through the mass amounts of data that is out there to help answer a question. But then you, as the business owner trying to do the analysis, you then have to challenge it. You have to ask different perspectives. You have to look at it from the board perspective. You can ask of it, I'm going to present these numbers to my board. What questions are my board members going to have? I'm going to give this to an analyst on Wall Street. What questions are they going to have? At your fingertips, you have access to an unlimited number of PhDs in any specific category, and people just aren't leaning in to leverage that, maybe because they're not as familiar. And any tool, the more you use it, the more familiar you are, and the better the better you are at leveraging all of its strengths. And so it's not just using LLM to dump a spreadsheet in it. It is literally, how do you make sure that you're collecting all the right data, that you're building that right RAG, so you can not only have what the LLM has been taught on, but you have your internal articulation of that data to help better refine it for your use. And they're not going to get there. It sounds simple, but they're not going to get there unless they start today. Unless they roll up their sleeves and say, how do we start, even if it's a small project?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love that example that you gave, because it reminds me of something I've done myself, which is, we'll be working in a sales capacity with a prospect, right? And going through an initial discovery with them, getting a lot of information about what their underlying challenges are, knowing what we have in the toolbox to help address and solve those things. But we can feed that information into a system that would then allow us to presuppose what some of the follow-up questions or objections or concerns that prospective customer may have at the IT department level, at the board level, at the director level. And it really, puts you in a position to approach it from, as you said, Russ, their perspective, and really gain a meaningful understanding of what it is that you may be facing as you go into those future conversations.